Latest headlines with the ITV News.
More free childcare for working parents, but can the system cope? From today, 2-year-olds can have 15 hours of free childcare a week, but Labour says the places simply aren't there.
It's a total mess, and if Labour wins that next election, we will need to make sure that we are delivering the places that parents desperately need.
Also tonight, A&E saves lives, but the waits patients face could be killing hundreds every week. Gaza's biggest hospital in ruins as Israeli forces end a 2-week raid to remove Hamas fighters. And J.K. Rowling dares Scottish police to arrest her as a new hate crime law takes effect that she says will threaten free speech.
This is ITV News with Yasmin Bodalbhai.
Good evening. From today, working parents of 2-year-olds can claim up to 15 hours of free childcare every week. It's the first stage in what the government's calling the biggest ever expansion in free childcare provision. Labour, though, has called it a pledge without a plan that could crash the whole system. It says parents are already struggling to access the limited childcare places available. Olivia Guthrie reports.
What does the sheep say?
Working parents face a huge uphill battle. A lack of childcare places, long waiting lists and sky-high fees.
I'm paying $2,500 a month for 2 kids that go from 9 till 4. And that's not even a full working day.
So we're paying more than our mortgage, I think, so probably just under £4,000.
It's a bit like paying for private schooling, really.
The government's today launching what it calls the biggest ever expansion in childcare provision. Working parents in England can now claim 15 hours of free childcare a week for 2-year-olds. This will be extended to babies aged 9 months and older from September. And a year later, that'll be raised to 30 hours a week.
This hopefully takes away that sort of choice between having a career and having a family, and I want that working women to have that choice.
Childcare costs on average £15,000 a year for a full-time place. That means that parents are still paying around £13,000 a year for a childcare place. So although we're very pleased to see that there are savings, they really aren't going to be enough.
Critics of the government say chronic underfunding has led to a shortage of childcare places and a problem recruiting and retaining staff. The government insists the sector will be able to cope with demand. But Labour says this is a pledge without a plan and accused the Tories of creating childcare chaos.
It's a total mess, and if Labour wins that next election, we will need to make sure that we are delivering the places that parents desperately need.
Tens of thousands of parents are expected to seek childcare places in the coming weeks. The government's hoping getting parents back to work will be a boost for them and a boost for the economy. Olivia Guthrie, ITV News.
Now, as it's the 1st of April, there are a host of other changes taking effect today which will impact household budgets. Let's start with the good news. The national minimum wage rises today by just over £1 to £11.44 an hour. It now applies to all workers over 21. Energy bills fall today by more than 12%. That's about £20 a month less for the average user. But most other bills have risen. Council tax by at least 5% in England and Wales, double that for some. In Scotland, it remains frozen. Water bills are going up by an average of 6% across the country, and many broadband and mobile contracts also rise today by up to 8%. And for more details on today's changes, head to our website, itv.com/news. Now, more than 250 patients may have died every week last year as a result of long waits in hospital A&E departments in England. That's according to calculations by the Royal College of Emergency Medicine. Our reporter Aisha Zahid has more for us. And Aisha, this is a shocking figure. How have they arrived at it?
Really stark figures. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine looked at data from last year. After some number crunching, they found that for every 72 patients waiting up to 12 hours in A&E in England, there was one excess death. That translates into more than 250 preventable deaths a week and 14,000 over the course of the year. Now, the risk of death increased when people were waiting for 5 hours or more, which is particularly concerning because last year, 1.5 million people were waiting more than 12 hours in A&E departments across the country. One of the senior doctors, Dr. Adrian Boyle, involved in this report, has said that effort and money needs to go where harm is the greatest.
We have the least number of beds of almost any European country per head. The only country that has less beds per head is Sweden, and they get away with this because they've got better social care. So we have a system which doesn't have enough capacity to look after the patients that we need to.
Off the back of these findings, the Department for Health have said 5,000 extra beds will be added over the winter period, and they've said that progress has been made with waiting times, but these figures paint a very different picture.
OK, Aisha, thank you very much. Israeli troops have pulled out of the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City after 2 weeks of intensive fighting there. What is left behind is a scene of utter destruction. The Israeli military says it has killed or detained hundreds of terrorists who were using the medical complex as a base. Hamas denies this and says hundreds of civilians, including doctors, were killed. Sam Holder reports.
This was once a hospital. Al-Shifa now looks more like a graveyard. It was the largest and most advanced medical complex in Gaza. But for the past 2 weeks, it saw operations of a very different kind. The IDF raid is now over. It says it killed 200 militants and arrested hundreds more from Hamas and its allies, who they accuse of using the hospital as a base. Hamas claims hundreds of civilians were killed, including doctors and those living in nearby buildings which were bombed. This man says he lost 7 of his extended family.
The house was hit by an F-16. God protected them and they were able to leave the house, only to be hit by a strike from the drones.
The Israeli government described the raid as the gold standard for urban warfare and claimed it would be studied at Sandhurst in the future. It is now planning an incursion into Rafah.
The IDF is prepared for the evacuation of the civilian population and for the provision of humanitarian assistance. We will enter Rafah and we will eliminate the Hamas battalions there.
Prime Minister Netanyahu is now out of hospital himself following a hernia operation, but he's facing mounting opposition in Israel. The largest protest yet continuing today over his failure to agree a hostage release deal. Back in Gaza, away from the rubble that was Al-Shifa Hospital, a glimmer of good news on the horizon. The first of 3 ships from Cyprus, carrying more than 1 million meals worth of food, finally spotted off the coast. Sam Holder, ITV News.
A suspected Israeli airstrike has destroyed the Iranian consulates in Damascus, killing a number of people. Syrian state media are reporting that everyone inside the building was killed, including at least 1 Iranian military advisor. Israel has yet to comment. Turkey's President Erdogan has pledged to learn from his party's worst election defeat in more than 20 years. The main opposition won in 35 out of 81 provinces, including Turkey's main cities of Istanbul and Ankara. And Germany has legalized cannabis for recreational use. Adults can now carry up to 25 grams in public, but the permission does not apply to foreign tourists. The Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling has dared Scottish police to arrest her after a new hate crime law came into effect, which she says is wide open to abuse. The legislation creates a new crime of stirring up hatred relating to age, disability, religion or sexual orientation. Ms. Rowling expressed her concern that the new law might be used to try to silence people like her who feel that transgender rights should not infringe upon women's rights. Laura Alderman has more.
Deemed a hate crime.
It remains one of the most contentious pieces of legislation ever passed by the Scottish Parliament.
If you witness a hate crime, report it.
Holyrood's new Hate Crime Act comes into force today, creating a new offence of stirring up hatred against certain groups, including age, disability, religion and transgender identity.
I'm very proud of the Hate Crime Act. We have seen, I'm afraid, not just in the UK and of course Scotland, but right across many parts of the world, this kind of rising tide of hatred against people because of their protected characteristics.
Some feminist groups, however, say there's a lack of protection in the new law for women, including Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who in a post on X today dared the police to come and arrest her if her gender-critical views were now against the law.
We have real concerns about the implications on free speech. A lot of legal commentators are saying it's all going to be fine when things come to trial, that there'll be a high threshold to prove criminality, which may be the case, but the problem is that we know there are being spurious and vexatious complaints already.
Police Scotland has committed to investigating every single hate complaint it receives, but policing bodies say that could make officers' workloads unmanageable.
The legislation is here, however, at no time was there extra finance put in place or extra police officers put in place to deal with this. The training they've had so far has been a 2-hour online package, and that's all they've had.
It's been more than 3 years since the bill was passed at Holyrood, but the debate and controversy surrounding it refuses to die down. Laura Alderman, ITV News.
More than 5,000 migrants have crossed the Channel on small boats since the start of January. It's a new record for the first 3 months of the year. Our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick is at Westminster. And Tom, the government's committed to stopping these journeys, but they're increasing.
Yes, this is embarrassing to say the least for a Prime Minister who has made stopping the boats a high-profile priority. These new figures from the Home Office show that 9 small boats crossed the Channel yesterday, carrying 442 migrants. That means the total number for January to March was 5,435 people, which is 43% higher than during the same period last year. Labour say the government are failing on a key pledge, but a minister defended their record today.
We saw about a 33% decrease in small boat crossings last year, and that was against a backdrop of a 16% increase across Europe. So there's significant measures were put in place. We expect those measures to be successful again this year if you look over the course of the year. But we've got a plan for this, the Rwanda plan.
Well, we understand the government will try to push through their legislation to allow them to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda in the first few days when MPs return here from their Easter break in a fortnight's time. It's then likely to be at least a month before any flights get off the ground. And the key question remains, will this work as a deterrent to bring down those small boat numbers?
Thank you, Tom. Finally, they say promotion to the Premier League is the richest prize in football, and today Leicester City put themselves in pole position to win it. 7 years after their fairy tale title win, they were relegated last season, but today's victory over Norwich City puts them top of the Championship and on course for a quick return. Chris Scudder was watching.
A few weeks ago, Leicester were charging back to the Premier League, 12 points clear at the top. But a slump followed, and going into Easter Monday, they found themselves out of the promotion places. This then was a must-win, and they made the worst possible start, falling behind to playoff chasing Norwich City.
Cheeky!
The Foxes were faltering until one of the Championship's best players, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, grabbed a precious equaliser. Nearly all of the title-winning team of 2016 are now long gone, but in their place have come fresh faces, and Stepi Mavididi scored what could be a priceless second goal.
He's done it!
Then enter the one survivor from the glory days, Jamie Vardy, off the bench, and it didn't take a Wagatha Christie sleuth to work out what might happen next. The man who helped them so famously win the Premier League title scored the clinching goal, but might just carry them back to the promised land next season. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
That's all for now. We'll be back with all the latest tonight at 10. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Everywhere will be lovely and warm today. You might even be tempted to go for a dip. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good evening to you. Mixed conditions as we slide into the first week of a new month. Some springtime sunshine for the luckier ones. For others, showers and longer downpours, some of these on the heavier side. And for the time being, we keep some chilly nights. As the rest of the week wears on, systems rolling their way in from the mid-Atlantic. This system bringing blustery wet weather in from the southwest in the next 24 to 48 hours, rolling its way northwards. With the blustery wet conditions, temperatures a little lower than we'd like given the time of year, but any springtime sunshine making all the difference. We've got further pulses of rain across Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England for a time tonight. Misty low cloud developing across the Pennines and into parts of Wales, and then lively intense downpours into southern counties as we head into the small hours of Tuesday morning. Elsewhere, a little drier, a little clearer, and temperatures dip a few degrees. A chilly night, just 5 or 6 in urban areas come the new day, but generally frost-free, and the best of any brightness across central zones. A little more action to the top and tail end of the country as we slide through the first stages of Tuesday morning. Several hours of steady rain across central and eastern Scotland, quite a brisk and cold wind from the near North Sea. Elsewhere, brighter skies and springtime sunshine interrupted by extensive showers and longer downpours come the afternoon. These generally few and far between, but will be intense, slow-moving and potentially thundery in places. They'll crop up almost anywhere. And in sheltered sunnier spots, 14 or 15 degrees. But then things go downhill from the southwest a little later here. Blustery winds, thickening cloud and some rain to come as the day wears on.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Perfect pits do exist. Stubbly, shaved, with marks or hairy. They're yours and they deserve Dove's best care.
Upgrade to Dove Advanced Care, our kindest to skin formula with triple moisturising technology and 72-hour protection. Upgrade to Dove Advanced Care.
I would choose Dove any day.
You really think you can get me to like dark chocolate?
Without a doubt.
Won't it taste bitter?
Not this dark chocolate.
It's delicious. I told you it wasn't bitter.
From the Lindt Master Chocolatier, discover excellence. Expect delicious.
Enjoy even more savings in the Oak Furnitureland Big Weekend with interest-free credit and no deposit. Now available from just $4.99.
ITV Win is here. Even if you've entered before, it's time to get back in the drawer as you could be our next winner. Over 3,000 winners are made every week, with over £8 million in prizes given away in the last 12 months. This year alone, we have given away cars, holidays and cash, and we're not stopping there. So if that's got your interest, wait until you see what we've got in store for the rest of the year. Scan the QR code or visit ITV Win today to enter. Don't just sit there, win there.
Your leg's aching again.
I'm not sure I could face the walk back.
What's Botham's secret? Daily massage? Cocktail of pills? I hear he uses Revitive.
Revitive Circulation Booster. Get your leg muscles pumping to relieve aches and pains and reduce swelling and cramp. And it's drug-free.
Morning, Ian. Looks like your secret's out.
Try Revitive, the best-kept secret for aching legs. Find out more at revitive.com.
Take a moment to admire this wonderful, soft, velvety yellowtail Merlot. Sorry, moment's up. Cut to the taste.
Great stories start with a little spark, a breath of fresh air that can take you away.
You need to let go.
Don't want to let you go.
No, as in let go of me, we're on the ground.
Oh.
Get drawn into the drama on ITVX, the UK's freshest streaming service.
Now here on ITV1, some familiar faces will attempt to beat a genius, all in the name of charity. In The Chase, Celebrity Special.
Hello and welcome.
to another episode of The Answer in Bingo. 5 bingo buffs ready to face the ultimate test. Fingers on buzzers. Let's bingo.
The Chase, sponsored by Gala Bingo.
Tonight, 4 celebrities must work as a team to win thousands of pounds for their chosen charities. There's just one thing standing in their way. The chaser. The chase is on.